Hi everybody, welcome to TechIssues Academy. In this video, we are going to be talking about React use context hook. So let's proceed. In this part, it says React context is a way to manage state globally. It can be used with the use state hook to share states between deeply nested components more easily than with use states alone. So let's proceed. We have a problem, and what the problem is prop drilling. And it says that states should be held by the highest parent component in the stack that requires access to the state. To illustrate, we have many nested components. The components at the top and bottom of the stack needs access to the state. To do this without context, we will need to pass the state as props through each nested component, and this is called props drilling. So what it's trying to say is that without use context, another way we can use it is use state, and we'll be passing props to it. So in this our example here, the use state, the props that was passed is Linux, and in this case, component one, hello Linux, component user, which is one, hello component two, which says hello, okay, this was hello user again, Linux. But the better way that we can do it, we can make use of use context. Now, props really explained, even though component two did not need the state, it had to pass the state along so that it could reach component three. So we have the solution, which is where we have React context. Now let's proceed. So to create a context, the first thing we need to do is to import create context and initialize it. Then next, we'll use the create provider to wrap the tree of components that needs to state context. Now let's make our own example. We'll create a new file and we're going to name it component one.jsx. Now in this component one.jsx, we're going to import use state, create context, and we'll say use context. We want to import all of this from React. Then after that, we are going to say const user context equals to create context. Then after this aspect, we're going to say function component one. So inside component one, we want it to be that we'll say const user, we want to have user, and we'll set the user, and we'll say set user equals to use state, and inside this use state, we want Linux. Then after that, we're going to return our value. Inside this, we're going to say user context dot provider value so we're making use of use context here, provider. Then we'll say value equals to user. This is supposed to be inside. Supposed to be inside here, user, and let's remove this here. So we are going to have this, and if inside this user context, we'll say hello one, and inside hello one, we're bringing user. Then after that, we're going to bring in component two. We'll say component because we're going to create a function for component two. Then after that, outside component one, We'll create another component too. So we'll say function component two, and inside component two, we want to return, inside this return, we're going to have a fragment, and we'll say h1, inside h1, we'll have component two, then we'll bring in component three again. Component three. Then that is for component two. We'll create another one again. Function, which is for component three. Function. Oh, I have a double P here. That is why that other one is not reflecting. Yes. So in this place, I'll create another component. So in this place, I'll create another component, which will be component three. Then inside component three, I'll say const user equals to use context. And inside use context, we want user context. And at the same time, we'll say return, and inside our return, we want a fragment. And inside fragment, we'll say h2. Inside h2, we'll say component three. And then we'll bring another h2. And inside this h2, we'll say hello. Oh, don't let us forget. Hello user again. So this fragment is not supposed to be here. We'll bring it down. Now let's export both of them. We'll say export component one, and as well use context. Then we are going to import it. User context. Then we're going to import both of them here. We'll say import component one, and user context from there. Then we'll say bring in component one. Now let's check our results. As you can see, we have Hello Linux, component two, component three, Hello Linux again. I hope you understand. So with the help of React use context, with the help of context provider, we're able to achieve that. Can you see wrap child components in the component provider and supply the state value? Like we did here, we wrapped component two. We wrapped component three inside component two inside component one, and Hello Linux again inside component three. Now it says use the use context hooks. In order to use the context in a child's component, we need to access it using the use context hook. First, you need to include the use context in the import statement. That is like the way we imported it here. That we said import use state, you create context and use context in our own code. Then you can access the user context in all components like we have it here. I hope you understand. Thank you for watching this video. Please do well to follow us across all socials at Tech Academy. See you next time. Bye.